Take a look at these two works of art and notice how similar the colors are. Believe it or not, these two paintings were created using the same types of materials, but one is 20,000 years old and the other was created just within the past 10 years. The first work we saw was created by contemporary artist John Sabraw. Contemporary means that something is happening right now in our current lifetime. John is an Ohio-based artist who works with scientists to help clean up old polluted mines around the state. The old mines have been polluting Ohio's rivers for decades, giving off something called acid mine drainage, which produces a great amount of iron oxide. Iron oxide is a reddish-brown dust, and when they take it out of the polluted water, it cleans the river, and they can use the dust to turn into paint. First, they treat the water with a base to neutralize it. Then, they allow the water to rest, and the iron oxide separates from the clean water that they can then return to the stream. The iron that settles on the bottom can be collected and dried, and the powder can be used to turn into paints. John uses these colors alongside other toxic paints to create his abstract works of art. He likes his work to look like planets or petri dishes, as he is very interested in the intersection between science and art. Not to mention, it's a huge bonus that he's helping out the Ohio environment while he does what he loves. Second work we looked at is a cave painting from a cave in Lascaux, France. This cave painting is over 20,000 years old and was created even before we had written language. People expressed their thoughts and feelings through pictures, specifically of things that they saw in everyday life. And believe it or not, those reddish-brown colors you see on the cave walls are also created with the same iron oxide that John Sabraw uses in his work. Cave artists use natural materials to create their drawings, such as black charcoal, browns and reds from dirt and clay, and white from ground-up lime that drip down the cave walls. For our project, we will be borrowing the style from prehistoric cave paintings to create our own modern cave drawings. We will use the idea of creating with powdered, natural colored pigments, just like John Sabraw and the Lascaux cave painters. However, our work will have a contemporary spin on it, tying in the old and the new. We will create a marbled cave wall inspired by John's work, and we'll add our own contemporary symbols to create personalized cave drawings. Watch how John mixes his own iron oxide pigments to use in his artwork. To start, we will mix our very own pigments to use in our cave drawings. Our pigments are already in powdered form. Normally, you need to mix your powder with some type of binder, like an oil or mineral spirit, but for our paint, we will just mix the powder with water. Slowly add 1 dropper of water at a time to your powder and mix with your paintbrush. Once you have a paint-like consistency, it's ready to be used for painting. You will be sharing colors with your table groups. Next, you will begin working on your planning sheet. Notice at the top that you are supposed to list 5 things that are important to you in your life. Remember that the Lascaux cave artists drew pictures of things that they knew from their everyday life, such as hunting and wild animals. Those images were symbols or simplified shapes that had specific meanings. You will take those things from your list and turn them into symbols. Your symbols can be any shape or simple drawing that you think represents the meaning of the word you chose. I chose the word family, art, rainbows, outdoors, and books because those are all things that are important to me and things that I enjoy. I drew simple shapes to act as symbols for each word. You can always add more symbols to your cave drawings later on as well. Now let's talk about how to create a marbleized cave wall that represents the style of artist John Sabraw. We will be using chalk pastels and blending techniques to create a layered, marbled cave wall. We will be using only neutral colors that can be found in our environment, similar to the colors found in cave art. Start with a light neutral color and turn it on the flat side of your chalk pastel to create a rubbing. Press very lightly as not to create a large amount of dust. Cover your whole paper with a thin layer of color. Next, begin to add wavy lines across your paper with a variety of other neutral colors, getting darker as you go. Use your fingers to gently rub and blend the colors before you add more lines. You should not use black or dark brown until the very end to make little tiny final details. When your background is complete, you can wipe your fingers and table off to get rid of any extra dust, and then you can begin to add your symbols to the background using oil pastels and the paint that you mixed previously. You may need to peel some of the paper back on your oil pastels if they're too hard to use. You can draw the same symbol more than once, and you can even invent other symbols that you hadn't drawn on your sheet already. I decided to add some handprints using chalk pastel as well. To create a handprint, you place your hand on your paper, trace it with a chalk pastel, and then smudge outward away from the center of the print. I also decided to add extra symbols such as heart shapes, simple shape drawings that represent my two dogs, and little dot symbols that had one dot for each person in my family. Try to fill up your entire paper with shapes, symbols, and colors. Make it mean something to you. If you were drawing this cave art for someone to discover thousands of years from now, what would you want them to know about you? I hope you have a blast creating these amazing contemporary cave designs.